Hello Barmy Badger Army, hope you're all well guys, welcome to today's show. So as you know, recently we've been playing Fnaf on the channel, Five Nights at Freddy's, and I've been really enjoying it and getting used to the gameplay. It's something I've waited a few years for it to come out on the PlayStation 4. There was always rumours, but then they could never quite work out how they were going to do it. So once it came out and it got to a reasonable price point, I jumped on it. And I really enjoyed all the hunting around the environment, looking at all the different camera angles and exploring and trying to work out a way to get past Foxy, Chica and the gang. And eventually we did, and we managed to get to the custom nights, which was fantastic. Okay, and now I want to talk to you about another game I was playing years and years ago on the Mega CD, Night Trap. I can never really get the hang of it on the Mega CD, unfortunately. I don't think I really understood how to work the cameras or do anything like that. So I used to watch the film and sort of had a vague idea of it. And this is before there was YouTube videos and things like that, which would allow you to figure out what to do a bit easier. So even with a written walkthrough, I did struggle back in the day. So I sold it off. And then I've seen it come back thanks to limited run recently. I think it was about 3 years ago, and I've always wanted a copy, but it was really expensive on the PlayStation 4. So eventually we got a copy for the Switch for the awesome price of £1.50. And they're awesome. So now I have both games. I was pondering to myself the other day, and I spoke to Voice Legend and a few others, and I was like, these two games are very similar. Let me do a video on that. And we'd already done one on Home Alone and Die Hard, so I thought, why not this? Now let's start. Both games obviously work on a camera system aspect. That is very true. But what you need to remember is both games have the fact that there's characters coming in and out, and you both have to look at exactly where the characters are on the camera and then react exactly when the time's right to either shine the light, shut the door, or do another example of something else, which would be to activate a trap in Night Trap. And obviously in Five Nights at Freddy's, you would need to either change the lighting or, of course, shut the door away from there. Now, another thing that you've got to think about is that there is a limited time period in Night Trap. You get about 8 minutes to capture as many vampires as possible. Otherwise, he hits the plug on the different things. And obviously, you have to remember there is a limited time period with Fnaf. If you do not shut the door or you don't find a way around where the different animatronics are, they will come and get you, and it's game over for the evening. So there you go. That's a very interesting point when you think about it. There is always going to be something where there's a trigger off where it figures out exactly where you're going to be and exactly what you're going to do. Also, in Five Nights at Freddy's, you've got Golden Freddy. You've got Golden Freddy, the most jump scare possible. Now, this I've encountered even on my first stream of Five Nights. Now, with, of course, the newest version of Night Trap, there is thousands of hours worth of footage. So, you're always going to get a different jump scare, something weird and wonderful that happens in every different playthrough. It's mad. So, that is where they do differ. There is a lot more variation with the Night Trap game than there is with Fnaf, because obviously once Fnaf happens, most of the time you can sort of work out their patterns. With Night Trap, it's very hard to work out the patterns unless you're very, 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 very able to concentrate loads on a small screen. Now, I think there is an element of the pattern aspect, but the patterns are very obscure. And I think there's more different patterns in Night Trap than there is Fnaf. But of course, it depends. Obviously, with Custom Night, you can change that around. And I'm guessing with all the different levels of Night Trap, when you get further in, things will get even more hairier. Also, what you have to remember with both of the games, they both have a mysterious person that's telling you what's going on. In Fnaf, you get the mysterious ex-caretaker, ex-security guard that obviously might be behind it all and might have caused all the problems in the first place, explaining what happened. In Night Trap, you get the mysterious government operatives explain what is happening, and you also get the plant that goes into the house as well that sort of says, watch out for the house, things are going wrong here. Now, also what you have to remember is another thing that they're very similar with is the way you cycle through the cameras. There is a set amount of cameras, and you each have to look at what's going on in each different one at the exact same time in order to figure out what's going on. And you have to do that with Fnaf as well. Now, Fnaf has actually got more cameras to look at, so that is where they differ. Actually, Fnaf can be harder in that respect, unless you do a strategy where you just look at Foxy. Then potentially you've got about 10 cameras to look at with 5 nights. Don't quote me, I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, but I know that Night Trap has got about 8. So if you think there's a big difference between those two, and there's a lot more could potentially go on with Fnaf. I mean, there are some periods in Night Trap where they're just talking, but that is to lure you away from what's going on in the other scenes. So there you go. Also, one difference between the two is that obviously Night Trap has a specific storyline. The problem with that is that in order to watch the storyline, you need to die pretty much, because the only way you're going to be able to watch and listen to the storyline is if you focus on the 1 or 2 particular cameras where they're talking. But if you do that, you'll miss out on all the other stuff. Fnaf doesn't have that problem. There is a very basic storyline, but it's more of a mythos. As you go along, you find out pieces of information off the internet and people tell you different things, but there's lots of creepypastas and lots of fan-related information on Fnaf. There's not really that much on Night Trap yet. So what you get is you get a basic storyline in Fnaf, and you have to build it up yourself using your imagination. Whereas with Night Trap, there is a storyline there, but it's very hard to follow because you need to focus on the cameras in order to figure out what's going on and be able to catch the so-called vampire creatures that are knackered and old and wearing bin liners. But, there you go. Obviously, that is another thing they have in common. The first Fnaf is very cheesy, not very kid-friendly in some ways, but then there's not much that I would call, there's not much blood or anything like that. Same with some of the levels of Night Trap. Some of it's really gory, but originally they tried to make it kid-friendly, believe it or not, and that's why there's no vampires in it per se. There's just these characters that are almost like demented SWAT team members who are wearing like really horrible clothing that have a special gun in order to extract the blood. So in a way, they are similar. There's no gore or whatever in Fnaf, but in Night Trap, there is gore later on and several horrific scenes. But it's weird how they turned down the notch on some things and then turned it up on others. It's very bizarre. But with Fnaf, it's not really kid-friendly, but I know there's a lot of like children and stuff that play it and all that sort of thing, and it's a big cult hit. But obviously with Night Trap, that is not so much a cult hit unless you're of a certain age. I'm not 40. So there you go. So this is where they all differ, and they are the same. So there's probably a wide variety of other things as well. Obviously, they're both done by small developers back in the day. The people that used to make these FMVs back in the day, they didn't have a massive budget. And there was a lot of times where, especially with this one, You know, people went into it. It was meant to be on a new console and everything, but ended up on the Mega CD on its own. And obviously with Five Nights at Freddy's, that's an indie game, so it might not have even appeared on the PC, or it might not have appeared on the PlayStation ever. They would have had to have done something to it. It might not have ever been picked up and turned into a smash hit like it was. So obviously, that is where they differ. You know, Five Nights at Freddy's is definitely more commercial and a bit more, you know, a bit more able to the masses, whereas Night Trap is more of a retro thing, more of a certain age group would play it. You'd probably be 18 plus to play that. So that is definitely where they differ. You know, Night Trap's definitely got more consumerism going on with it there. Whereas obviously Night Trap is not very marketable unless you're a fan of Mega CD or you're a fan of FMVs. They're very niche aspect and they're a very niche one, so that is definitely where they differ. But there's tons of places there where they are the same, and of course same with Night Trap and same with Fnaf. There's lots of weird little secrets and Easter eggs you can find in the game, and obviously, you know, there's the switches as well. Let's not forget that, the switch aspect of it, where you need to turn things on and off. That's definitely in both games, because with Fnaf you need to turn on and off the light or turn on and off the shutters. With Night Trap, you need to change the codes, and you need to change the different rooms, and you need to change the traps. You need to press the traps as well. So there's loads of different things in common there. And of course, there's an ensemble of vampires and evildoers. And of course, in Fnaf, there's an ensemble of evil robots after you. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Did you enjoy this? Did you think my connections were correct? Have you got any connections of your own? And would you like to see a different video similar to this? Or, if you didn't like this video, why? Tell me and let me know where I went wrong. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Bye!